Hey guys, welcome to Coding Spot and welcome back to part 4 of this tutorial on how to code the classic Pong game. So in the last video we managed to add all kind of collisions to our game. In this video we're going to add scores to our game. So each time a player scores a goal, his score is going to be displayed at the top of the screen. Also we're going to create a restart function, and this function will be the one responsible of restarting the game whenever a player scores a goal, as we want our paddles and our ball to go back to the initial position. So yep, let's start coding. Okay guys, so let's start by creating our score class. So right here, class score, and we want to create our init method. So go ahead and type def underscore underscore init underscore underscore, and we're gonna pass in the following parameters. So the first one is going to be our self. Then we want to pass our screen in order to have a place to show it. Then we want to pass a point. So these are going to be the points of the player. And this is what we're going to render on our screen. And we also will need a position X and a position Y in order to locate our scores. So let's go ahead and type self.screen equals screen, self.points equals points, self.posX equals posX, and self.posY equals posY. And again guys, we're just saying that the position Y of our score is going to be equal to a position Y that we're going to send, that the position X of our score is going to be equal to a position X that we're going to send, and so on, so on. Okay, so before we show or display our scores, we need to actually create a font. So let's go ahead and type self.font, and this is going to be equal to pygame.font.sysfont, and we need to pass in the name of our font. I'm gonna use monospace, but you can search for more names or for more fonts. There are lots of fonts you can use. Now we need to pass in a size. I'm gonna go with 80. And now I want to make our labels or our scores to be bold. So in order to do that, go ahead and type bold equals true. Okay, so once we have our font, we can go ahead and create our label. And this is going to be equal to our self.font. So this font we just created, dot render. And we need to pass in the text we want to render, and that would be our self.points. Now go ahead and pass a 0. We don't want this anti-alias. And lastly, we need to pass in a color, and as you know, I want white, so I'm gonna go ahead and pass white. Okay, so once we have our init method ready, we can go ahead and create our show method. So just as we did right here and right here. So this show method is going to be the one showing our scores, right? So we want to pass our self, and that's it. And in order to show or to render a label, we want to type the following. So self.screen.bleed, and inside of this method we need to pass in the label we just created. So go ahead and type self.label, and then we need to pass in a position. So remember, we need to pass in a tuple, and we want our x coordinate to be the following. So self.posx minus our self.label.getRect.width double division by 2. And this is just letting us put our scores right at the center of the x-axis. Okay, now we can go ahead and pass our self.posy. So self.posy, and that's it. And as always, let's go ahead and call our show method inside of our init method. So self.show. Okay, so once we have this, we can go ahead and create our score objects. So let's go down here, and we want to create two scores, right? So score 1 is going to be score, and score 2 is going to be also a score. Okay, so for score 1 we want to pass our screen. Now we want to pass our initial points, so that will be 0. Position x is going to be equal to the width of our screen divided by 4, and that's because we want to have it at the left of the screen, but at the middle, right? And for position y, we want to have more or less 15. So for our second score, so the score of the right player of the screen, we want to pass our screen also the 0 for initial points, and the x position is going to be the width of our screen minus the width of our screen divided by 4. So it's more or less the same, but this time we need to add all the width of our screen, and then we need to subtract that quarter of our right screen. And for position y, we're also going to use 15. So let's go ahead and save and run the file to see our scores. Okay, so we got an error. Text must... Oh, okay guys, so we cannot pass in integers or any other type. We need to pass in strings. So make sure that 0 it's a string. So go ahead and put some quotation marks. Now we can go ahead and save and run, and it should work. So it's going to take some time, and as you can see, we managed to have a perfectly centered scores for both of our players. And before we actually close the screen, I wanna show you what happens when we press the starting key. So as you can see, our scores disappear, and that's because we're not calling them or showing them on our main loop. So let's go inside of our main loop, so right here, and we want to show them always. So no matter what, we want to show our score 1, so score1.show, and our score 2, so score2.show. And let's go ahead and save and run the file. Okay, so I'm gonna try to play, and as you can see, our scores now did not disappear. So that's pretty good, And now what we are going to do is actually add some points when this happens. So when a player scores a goal, we want that player to receive a point, right? So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, and by the way guys, make sure these two lines of code, so score1.show and score2.show, are outside of this if statement. Because as I told you, we want to always show our scores no matter what. Okay, let's start adding some points to our players. So the first thing we want to do is actually go to our collision manager class, and we want to create two functions. So I know there are not going to be collision functions, but we can think so as imaginary collision functions. Why? Because we want to check our ball's position in order to know if there was a goal or not, right? So it's a kind of collision. We can think it of as an imaginary collision, as I told you. Okay, so I want to start checking if player 1 scores a goal. So I'm gonna call this function check goal player 1, and we want to receive the self and our ball object, because we want to know the position of our ball, right? So this is pretty simple. We are just returning if the ball.posX minus the ball.radius it's actually greater or equal than our screen width. So we're just checking that, and if you think about it, it will make sense. So we're just saying if the ball is greater than our width, there is a goal of player 1. So let's go ahead and create our second function, and that will be check goal player 2. We're going to receive self also and our ball object. And we want to return the following. So ball.posX plus ball radius, so ball.radius is actually less than or equal to 0. So the same thing, guys, we're just checking if our ball is actually at the left side of our screen in order to give a player 2 a goal, right? So pretty easy. Okay, so we have our checking functions, so we now know when a player scores a goal. But actually, we now need a function that is going to increase the score of that player who scores a goal, right? So we want to do that on our score class. So I'm gonna create a new method called increase score. So increase score, we're receiving self as a parameter. And actually, you know what? I'm gonna call this function only increase. So what we want to do here is the following. So first we want to create a variable called points, and this variable is going to be equal to our self.points, but in an integer. We're going to make a cast, so we're going to convert our self.points, which is a string, to an integer, and we're gonna add this 1. And now we can actually update our self.points in order to be equal to points, but as a string, right? Because we cannot pass an integer right here. We cannot pass an integer, we need to pass in a string. And the last thing we want to do is actually render that new point. So go ahead and type, actually we can copy this. So self.label equals self.font.render with our new points, so +1. This is the anti-alias and our color. So perfect, that's our increase function. Now let's go to our main loop and let's call all these functions we just created. So right here in check for collisions, we're going to check for a win. So we're gonna use our collision object to check if there's a goal of the player 1. We're gonna send our ball, and if that's true, if that returns true, we wanna call our score 1 and we wanna increase it, right? Now we wanna do the same for our player 2. So if collision dot check goal player 2, and we're sending our ball, if that's true, we wanna increase our score 2, so increase. So I'm gonna go ahead and save and run the file for you to see. Okay, so it might take some time, and I'm gonna go ahead and score a goal with player 1. Okay, so as you can see, score is increasing, and we don't want that, and that's because we need to restart our ball's position, right? Because this function is going, let me show you, this function, for example, is going to be called, and each time is called, it's going to return true because the ball is at the right of the screen, right? So we need, as soon as we increase our score, we need to restart our ball position. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so this is pretty easy, guys. We need to go to our ball class, so right here, and we want to create a new method called restart position or pos. We're going to receive ourselves, and we want to type the following. So first we want to restart our position x to width of the screen divided by 2. Also we want to restart our position y, so that would be the height of the screen divided by 2. Then we want to restart the dx, so our direction, so self dx equals 0, and our dy to equal 0 as well. And the last thing we want to do is actually draw our ball. So this will show us, as soon as a player scores a goal, this will show us the ball being set back to the middle of the screen. So I'm gonna go ahead and save and run the file for you to see what happens. Okay, so I'm gonna score a goal with the left player. Okay. Oh, we need to call this function inside of our main loop, obviously. So let's go right here So we want to ball.restart pause, and right here we want to type ball.restart pause. Now it should work. Okay, so I'm gonna score again a goal with the left player, and oh, ball object has no attribute draw. Okay guys, so I'm making lots of mistakes. It's not draw, it's show. So let's go ahead and build it again. Now it should work. So I'm gonna do the same thing. It should work now. Yeah, and as you can see, we managed to increase our players' score. I'm gonna go ahead and try with the second one, so with the right player to score a goal. So right here, and also we receive 1 point and no more. So perfect, we did it guys. Okay guys, so I wanna actually restart also our paddles position when a player scores a goal. This is totally optional. If you feel your game is okay now, you can go ahead and try new things. But I'm gonna go ahead and actually restart the position of the paddle. So I'm gonna create a restart pause, receiving self, and we wanna type the following. So self.posey, because we don't need to restart our pos x as the pedals only move in the y direction. So this will be height divided by 2 minus self dot height divided by 2. So remember, this is height of the screen and this is height of our pedal. Now we want to put our state to be equal to stopped. And by the way, this can be any string you want, except up or down, obviously. So it doesn't matter if you put here known or I don't know, or these, it's the same. I like to put a stop to know that the pedal is not moving. And the last thing we want to do is actually draw our pedal. Oh my god, show our pedal again. Okay, and now let's go ahead and call these when a player scores a goal. So pedal1 dot restart pause and pedal2 dot restart pause, and we want to do that thing right here also. And also I want to set our playing variable to equal false. So false and false. And remember, this playing variable is just telling us if our ball is moving. So I'm gonna set it to equal false. Anyway, when we press the starting key again, that playing variable is going to be equal to true, right? Now I wanna create a restart function. So we can start by restarting the scores, right? So we already have our ball restart, our paddle restart. Now we need a score restart. So go ahead and type def restart. This is not gonna be position, we just need to restart our scores. So let's go ahead and type self.points equal to the string 0 or the char 0. And now we want to type self.label equals self.font.render, and we want to render our self.points, anti-alias 0 and white. So basically we are doing this because each time we change our points, in this case, we want to render it, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and create our restart function. So this is going to be right here, a function called restart, and we want to do the following. So we want to paint our background, we want to make our score1 dot restart, our score2 dot restart. We want to also make our restart position for our ball, our paddle1 dot restart pause also, paddle2 dot restart pause, and I think that's all. Yeah. Okay, and finally we can create a new if statement to check if we press the restarting key. So go ahead and type if event dot key equals pygame dot k underscore, and as you know, you can use any letter or any key you want, literally, but I'm gonna go with R just for restart. So once the user press the R key, I want to call the restart function and also make our playing variable to be false. So I'm gonna go ahead and run the file for you to see the final version of the game. Okay, so I'm gonna try to play. So I'm gonna score a goal first. Okay, something is happening, and I think it's because we're not painting our screen. So as soon as a player wins, we need to paint our screen. So paint back right here and paint back right here. And that should work. Okay, so I'm gonna score a goal. Yeah. And as you can see, I cannot move both of my pedals. But once I press the starting key, I can move them. So I'm gonna score with this right player. And again, 1-1, so perfectly. One more, 2-1, this perfectly, scores are perfectly done. I'm gonna restart to see what happens. So yeah, it works, guys. So I think our game is finished now. Anyway, if you got lost throughout the tutorial, I'm gonna put the GitHub repo in the description below, so you can compare your code with the code I'm uploading to GitHub. And yeah, I really hope you like this tutorial. I really hope you like this video. So yeah, if you like it, if you learn something new, if you enjoy it, make sure to leave a like, make sure to subscribe, and make sure to comment. And I'll see you in the next video.